My name is Martin Builder, and I've been hanging out on the fringes of the Memorial Boat Project since Garwig began them way back when. I've carved all sorts of boat heads, I've put in deck boards and so forth, but I've never actually made a boat on my own, so I decided this is the year. Now, although I'm basically going to be basing this year's construction on the Bernadette of 5, it's not a research project. This is all about making something that will mean something for people rather than getting a scale replica. So I'll be using all sorts of modern tools. I'll be putting in screws where they won't be seen later on. It doesn't really matter. So let's get to it then. And for all you Vikings out there, make sure you tie your hair back. For this boat, I'm going to be using some reused lumber from a theater set. Just some 2x6s, 2x8s. A couple short pieces for the prow and the stern. Longer 6-foot piece for the keel, but I don't need it this thick. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut it down a little bit. Let's go do that. Now with the table set to about 1/8 of an inch, I'm pushing myself a little bit. Also means I can't put the safety guard over top of the blade, but I've got a feather board here and a table to extend and catch the boards as they go through. So, and a couple things to push with, should be good to go. Alright, so we've got board number 1. Just a few more dozen to go. So that brings my keel to about where I want to have it right now. If you don't have access to a magnetic featherboard like this, I highly recommend you make your own out of wood. It really makes a difference when you're doing these long rips. Now, while I've got the table set this way, I've got the strips off this I can use, but the boat's going to bow out, so I'm going to need strips longer than the length of the bottom in order so that they are going to be long enough. So I've got an 8-foot board I'm now going to rip down to. So I've got all my boards cut. My consistency isn't what I would hope, but that's okay. Some of them will be able to serve as deck boards and others for the sides depending on the thickness that I've got. Next step will be to cut the angle on the keel so I can match it to the prow. I should be doing it the opposite way on the prow and the stern so that when it goes through the water wouldn't get shoved out through that joint. But at this scale, it doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to do it the same way on both ends. Now that I've got the angles cut for the prow and the stern, I'm going to go ahead and cut the Y-shaped bit out of the keel here. And this will be where the first strakes are going to rest against. Now, the shipbuilders worried about the speed and the draft of their ships. The angle at the bottom strakes really makes a difference, but since I don't actually know what I want out of my boat, I've just set it at approximately 22.5 degrees, and I'm just going to run it through my table saw with a piece of scrap first to see how it goes. Looks like it'll work. Let's go with that. So from my test piece, you can see how well those 1/8" strakes are fitting into that bottom slot. So I'm actually, when I cut my bottom here, I'm actually going to leave just a little bit of the gap there so they can help hold it in place. So I've restored my saw to straight and raised it up a little bit, and I'm going to run a test again. Something wasn't quite consistent in that, but I think I'm good enough shape that I'm going to go with this. My next step is cutting out my prow and my stern. I'm not really sure exactly how big this thing is yet, so I'm probably going to end up leaving a lot of work for me to clean up later as I shrink it, but that's the way it goes. With the ends cut out, it's starting to look more like a boat. But while I've got my table saw set, I'm going to see about cutting the keel shape into the front and the back. Next thing I want to do is join things together, but I've still got a lot of work to do on these pieces, so I'm going to just screw them together temporarily. I'll be gluing them eventually, And while I'm at it, I'm going to just make a quick base from 3 pieces of scrap I've got lying around. So there you have it so far. See, I've got one big mistake already. I'm not quite sure where things changed, but I've got to fix the angle on the prow. But beyond that, it's time to start putting in some strakes.